Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Hope you're having a fantastic day. So let's say a contractor submits a new month program. How do you prove what has been added and what has quietly disappeared from that program? So if you're new here, welcome back to my channel. In this lesson, I will show you a practical P6 method for identifying activities that's been added to or deleted from consecutive monthly program submission, or could be weekly submission as well. Okay, so in this practical exercise, so we'll look at two projects. One of them will be project A and the other one will be project B. Okay, so project A will be last month program, okay, or last week program, as the case may be. And project B will be this month's submission. Okay, so let's say your contractor is submitting project to you every single month. Okay, before we go there, I'd just like to define a baseline. So baseline is an agreed frozen copy of your program in which you measure future progress of work against. Okay, and then when you have a baseline, you be able to determine if an activity has been added and if an activity has been deleted from the schedule. And one thing is very important, just make sure your activity ID is consistent for you to be able to check for any missing activity or any newly added activity. Okay, so we have a two-part test. Okay, the first one is to check if an activity has been added, and the other one is to check if an activity has been deleted. Okay, so for the first test to check if an activity has been added, so this is what we need to do. We need to open project B, which is this new month program. So you open this new month program, the one they've just submitted, and you use last month as the baseline. Okay, so we open the new month program and we use last month program as the baseline. And when you had your baseline start and baseline finish dates columns, if there's any activity that is showing a missing baseline start and a missing baseline finish, and that's telling you that those activities are newly added to the schedule. Okay, you need to open this month's schedule and use last month as the baseline. That's how you determine if an activity has been added to the schedule. Okay, and then for the second part, what we want to check is if an activity has been deleted. Okay, so in this case now we just need to reverse engineer it. So what we need to do, we need to open last month program and we use this month program as the baseline. Okay, and if you have any activity in there that does not have a baseline start and a baseline finish date, except it's a milestone in the program, then that's telling us that the activity has been deleted and we can challenge the contractor or whoever submitted the program, as the case may be. Okay, so let's go into P6 and and look at a practical example. Okay, so this is my PC. So I've got this program. So let's just open this program. So and we need to rename this program. So one of them will be Project A, which is last month, and the other one will be Project B, which is this month. So I'll call this Project A last month, and then I'll call this one Project B. Project B, and this is going to be this month's program. Okay, so let's open last month program and see what we have in there. So we have all these set of activities. So let's get rid of the columns that we don't need. So I don't need my variance. I don't need this. I don't need the project ID. I think this is fine. I need the activity ID. And don't forget, you don't want to delete an activity ID in the program. If you must, if you don't need an activity anymore, what you need to do is to retire the activity. So you need to create a separate WPS and move those activities in that separate WPS. You can call it retired WPS or deleted, activities WPS. Okay, so here we have how many activities do we have? Let's go to columns and go to number of activities and add the activity count. So you can see here currently we have 25 activities in this schedule. Okay, So what I want to do, so we know that this is our project A. So let's go to project B, which is this one. So this will be the newly submitted program in which they've added some activities in there and they've deleted some activities. So how do we identify those activities that has been added and the ones that has been deleted from this schedule? So what I will do here, I've got this list of activities. So let's say, we've added these 5 activities into the schedule. So let's go ahead and add those activities into the schedule. So we'll add the complete complete refurbishment and asbestos survey. So I'll add that to my design WBS. So just add it in there. Then I need to add the conduct site induction. So that should go into the site establishment. So you can always press insert on your keyboard to add a new activity. Then I need to add my another activity in there, and this one is going to this WBS. I'll just click on insert and paste. Then I have 2 more to go. I have this other activity that's going to MAP force fix WBS. So I'll paste that in there. And this last one, I'll add that into my architectural fit out. So I've added those activities. To be honest, I don't need to link them, because this will work whether you link them or not. As you can see, these are the activities standing on my data dates. So I've got all those 5 activities. Okay. So you can note those activities. I've got the list of those activities in here anyway. So we can double check, when we start doing the filter to check for newly added activities and deleted activities. So I've added those 5 activities. Now I want to go ahead and delete these 4 activities. So let's say your contractor uh, planner, they're updating the schedule, they think they don't need some activities anymore, they deleted them, and they think, oh, we actually need some activities, and they added those activities. So this is how you check and find out what they have done. So I've got this long lead that I want to delete. I've got this install that I want to delete. I've got this isolate that I want to delete. And I've got this enabling works complete that I would like to delete as well. So I'll right click in here and I'll click on delete. So now, I've added new activities. I've deleted some activities. I've added 4. I deleted 5. So we have 26 number of activities in the schedule. Sorry, I deleted 4. I added 5 new activities. So that's why we're having 26 activities in the schedule. So don't forget, we've deleted some activities and added some activities in this month's program. Last month remained the same, it's the last month program. So for the first scenario to check for nearly added activities, so I'll use these 2 programs, and let's just paste the same program in here as well, this other WBS. Okay, so don't forget, when we're doing the first scenario, let me just paste all of these. So when we are doing the first, let's close everything. File, close all. Okay, so we close everything, and don't forget, when we are doing the first scenario, we want to open project B, which is this new month's program. Okay, then use last month's program as the baseline. All right, so let's do that. So we want to focus on this. So looking at this, this is my new month program, which is project B, and that's what we are opening. So you right click and click on open. Okay, so this is the new program they submitted. They've deleted some activities in there and they've added some activity in there. But now we're just focusing on the activity that's been added. Okay, so to do that, we open project P, then we use project A as the baseline. So we'll go back into project and we'll click on maintain baseline. Then we click on add. So now, we don't want to save a copy of the current project as a new baseline. We want to convert another project to a new baseline of the current project. Okay, so I'll now click on OK. Then I will now select project A as the baseline. Okay, one trick I will just give you in here is that if you're working in a massive database, what you might want to do is that before you start before you convert that activity or that project, as a baseline, what you might want to do is to copy the activity ID, then, go back to project, go back to maintain baseline, before you actually copy this, and then click on add. Select the second option that says you want to convert on that project. So when you get here, instead of start looking for the baseline or the project you want to convert as a baseline, you can just press Ctrl F in here and paste. Okay, Ctrl F and paste. Then you look of find. Then it take you to that project that you want to convert as a baseline. Instead of scrolling up the way up or down to look for that project. So I'll just cancel and I will click on close. So I'll go back to my activity here. So what I need to do here is that we now need to assign the baseline. So a lot of questions I tend to get from my students and people on YouTube is that, Doctor, we've got some activity that's got these baseline bars, even though we've not created a baseline. Okay, the reason you're seeing that is because, if you go to bars, you will see that this baseline bar, which is what is currently being displayed, has been selected. Okay, if you don't select it, if it's not selected and you click on apply, you would see that we don't have a baseline bar. Okay, and then where is the data coming from? The data is coming from the current project, because if I go to project and I go to assign baseline, you would see that my project baseline and my primary baseline, they are using the current project data. So if I delay an activity or I move an activity out, this yellow bar will always be following the activity, until I assign a baseline to this project. Okay, so I've got another video. I will link it to this particular video on baseline. If you want to learn more about baseline in depth, then be sure to watch that video. So what I will just do here now, I'll just go back to my project and assign baseline. Then I want to assign the baseline to this project. Okay, so don't forget we've got project B open, which is this month's project, and we now use last month program as the baseline. As you can see in here, looking at my baseline field, now we're checking for the newly added activities, and these are the activities that we've added. And if you look at those activities in this schedule, you see that the complete refurbishment and asbestos survey, you can see here we don't have a baseline start and we don't have a baseline finish date for it. That's because it was not in the baseline, it's newly added. You can see this one as well. The conduct is also empty. This is also empty. This is also empty. And this is also empty. So all those 5 activities that we just added, you can see them in here being displayed in our start and finish BL project start and BL project finish. So that's telling us that those are the newly added activities. So you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see here, we don't have a baseline bars for them. So that's telling us that those activities were not in that program as of the time we baselined it. Okay. So that's what that is telling us. And let's say you have, 10,000 or 5,000 activities in your schedule, you don't have that time to start scrolling up and down. Yeah. So we need to create a filter for this. So I'll just click on filter. Then I'll click on new filter. And the first one is newly added activity. So let's name our filter newly added activity. So what we want to do in here, if you want to see your parameters properly, you can expand these. So now I'll just go to BL project start. Okay. So BL project start equals empty. So we'll leave this as empty because, we want to check for all those activity that does not have BL project start and BL project finish that are missing in the baseline. Okay. So I'll just leave that as empty. I can copy and paste and change this one to what? BL project finish. Okay. BL project finish. All right. So here we're looking for activity that does not have baseline start date and baseline finish date. One last thing we just need to do here is to change this to any of the following and click on apply and click on OK and click on apply and click on OK. So as you can see here, we have 5 activities, and those are the 5 activities that were not in the program before, and now they have now been added to the schedule. As you can see here, the complete refurbishment, site conduct site induction, obtain service isolation permits, complete fire stopping to MEP penetrations. Then we have complete MEP second fix and final connection. So you can see those are the newly added activity in our schedule. So that's how you check, if your contractor has added a new activity. And then you can challenge this to say, why is this added? Is that in the narrative or not? Okay. So that's the first pass. So let's close all this now. And now, the other option is to check if an activity has been deleted. So for activity has been added again, what you want to do, you open this month's submission, the latest submission they've sent to you, you open that program, then you use the last submission as your baseline. Okay. As a baseline, if you have any activity that does not have a start and finish date, then that's all. The activity that has been added to the schedule. Then for the second option, what we want to do is to check for deleted activity. So what we do, we open project A. So open last month program, and this month's submission that they just submitted will now be the baseline. Okay. So anything that was here and not in here means those has been deleted from the schedule. So that's what we're trying to achieve. Okay. So I will now open my project A, which is last month's submission. You open it. Then we use this other program as our baseline for it. So like I said earlier on, it's good to just copy the activity ID. You can copy the activity name, probably if you had something in the front to make sure your activity name is unique. But when you're in this EPS view, your activity name or your project name can actually be the same thing. It doesn't matter. But we all know that your project ID has to be unique. So when you copy a project ID, you know that that's the only project in your database that's got that project ID. Okay. So what we now need to do, so I've opened last month's schedule. Okay. Then go back to your activity view. We can remove the filter that we had because now, we can't see any activity. So I'll just click on OK. So we have 25 activities. And then what I need to do now is to now, go to my project and go to maintain baseline. Okay. I'll add a new baseline, and this new baseline will now be our project B. Okay. So you can say control find and paste your project ID in here and click on find. Doesn't matter how big your database is, it will take you to that particular project that has our project ID. Okay. So now, I'm converting my project B as a baseline for project A. Okay. So when you do that, just close. What we need to do again is to go to project, go to assign baseline, and we want to assign project B as a baseline to project A. So when you do this now, you remember we have 4 activities that was deleted. So let's check those activities in this schedule. So number 1 is long lead material delivery to site. So look at this long lead material delivery to site. You see I don't have a start and finish date for it. And then the next one is install holding. So where's the activity here? So you can see it's empty. That was deleted. Then you can see the enabling works that was deleted, these two, and also the isolate existing services that's also been deleted. Okay, so that's how you see, if an activity has been deleted or if a new activity has been added. But just like we did for activity that were added, let's create a filter for this as well for activity that has been deleted. So newly added activities, and the other one is deleted activity. So I can just, create separate filter for it just to have it in the program. So I just say copy and paste, copy and paste. So I have that activity, that filter. So here I'll just, give it a name. So here also we're looking for activity that does not have a start and finish baseline dates. Yeah, those are the activities that were in last month's submission, but they didn't make it into this month's submission. Okay, so they've deleted all those 4 activities. And if you want to hide all of this, just right click and go to group and sort and just click on hide if empty. So any empty WBS will be hidden. So you can see now those are the 4 activities that were deleted deleted from the schedule, and you can take a record of that and send it back to the contractor to query to say, okay, this is not your narrative. Why have you deleted this activity? And maybe next time, before you delete an activity, you need to create a deleted WBS or retired activity WBS, because at times some of these activities might have some resources allocated to them and some costs, and you need to reallocate those costs to somewhere else in the schedule. So you can't just delete an activity in this schedule. It's not a good practice. So there you have it, guys. So in summary, when we have two programs that's been submitted by the contractor to us, if you need to know the activities that has been added to the schedule, what we need to do is to open this month's project. Okay, so open this month's project, which is project B, and use project A, which is last month's program, as the baseline. If you have any activity that does not have a start and finish date, and they are not milestone, some of them will be a fresh milestone, which means they don't have a start date, and some of them will be a start milestone, which means they don't have a finish date. Those are the exceptions. And even if we create a filter, those will not, be picked up by your filter anyway, which is actually good. So you make your last month program the baseline to this month's program. Any missing, start and finish date in the program will be newly added activities. And for you to find the activity that's been deleted from the schedule, what you need to do is to open this month's program. Okay, open last month's program, and you use this month's program as the baseline. Okay, to check for any missing activity. So any activity that does not have either a baseline start or a baseline finish date, those activities has been deleted from the schedule. I hope this is clear. And don't forget, baseline is an agreed frozen copy of your program in which we'll measure the future progress of work against. I've got a detailed video on baseline. You can check my channel, or I'll just link it in the description in this video. Okay, so if you enjoy the video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is the complete two pass baseline check. You use project A as a baseline to identify newly added activity, and then you reverse the comparison and use project B as a baseline to identify deleted activities. Okay, if you have any question, any comment, please drop in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, one thing to note as well, don't forget, guys, keep the activity consistent. If you start deleting activities and you start renaming activity IDs, it might skew your result. Okay, use a practice file to repeat this exercise yourself. And if this lesson was useful, please subscribe for more practical Primavera P6 and project control training, and share your results in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Take care. Cheers. Bye bye.